Scare Canyon is behind me. It's on the other side of Hardware Ranch. It's it's west of Hardware Ranch. It's back in here. Jenny and I camped there the beginning of this summer, sometime in June. We spent a weekend up there because of Bigfoot sighting report that happened in 2006. It was September 2006, and a husband and wife were looking for a place to camp, and they come off of Ant Flat Road, and they drove the 5 miles back in, and they found a spring. It's a pond-like spring up there. There's a couple of them. The one that Jenny and I camped next to was kind of a heart-shaped spring. I don't know if that's the exact one. They didn't say it was heart-shaped, but what looks heart-shaped to one may not to another one, and it could have changed shape since 2006. Well, anyway, they set up camp, and they camped in their shell. Their truck had a shell on it, and that's where they were gonna sleep. But anyway, they eat dinner and everything, and she says it started happening around 10:45. Their dog started freaking out. Their dog was part, I guess they called it red hound, and part chow. It was a medium-sized dog. Well, their dog got really nervous and started whimpering and growling and running around camp. And the owner, she says that she had never seen her dog act like this before. So it kind of made her nervous, and she asked her husband to come to bed, and he says, "Oh, I'm going to stay up a little while further." You know, they had a campfire and everything going. So she climbed into the back of the truck, and the dog was right up there with her. It was more than happy to go to bed with her, and she went to bed, and the dog kept on whimpering and whining, and just she couldn't get the dog comfortable, couldn't comfort the dog. Well, 20 minutes later, her husband finally come to bed, and she says he fell right asleep. I mean, was out. And after he was asleep 10-20 minutes, the dog kept on looking up out of the window of the camper shell and whining and growling and stuff. So the lady sat up and looked out, and I guess it was a full moon. And she saw the tallest person that she'd ever seen before, about 25 yards away, standing there staring at them. She saw its big black silhouette. And then she started to get kind of a size, and she knew it couldn't have been a person because it was much taller than the tallest person ever could have been, is what she said. And it stood there staring at their truck and camper shell for about 5 minutes, and then it walked past the truck down to the spring and disappeared. Well, I guess when it was standing there staring at her, she was nudging her husband, trying to wake him up, and she was kind of paralyzed in fear, but was nudging him. All she could do is sit and stare at the creature, and he wouldn't wake up. He just went out. He must be a lot like me. The first couple hours I sleep at night, I'm like a log. And then the rest of the night, you know, I wake up easily, but when I first fall asleep, those first couple hours, nobody can wake me up, and sounds like he was kind of the same. So that was their Scare Canyon. I don't know if Scare Canyon is named that. If you could drive all the way through Scare Canyon, you would end up at Porcupine, but there's private property that cuts you off. I've come in from the Porcupine Reservoir side, and to try and get in there, and I ran into some gates of private property. So if you ever want to check out Scare Canyon, you got to see it from you really need to see it from the Ant Flat side. I really scratched up my Jeep getting up in there, so you might want to camp down below and take four-wheelers or motorcycles up in there. When I follow up on these sighting reports, they don't tell me how harsh the conditions are getting in and out of these places, but once you go to a sighting location and realize how remote it is and how hard it was to get in there, it makes sense if a creature's avoiding people to be in a spot where not a lot of people go. Next time I go up in there, I'm not going to go in there as far. I'm not going to take my vehicle up to the actual springs. I'll camp close and either hike in or take four-wheelers in and so forth. But it's a neat remote place. There's a lot of sightings around Ant Flats Road, Monte Cristo, Hardware Ranch. Why not Scare Canyon? Perhaps that's the reason Scare Canyon got its name. Have a good evening.